You can tell how based or cringe a man is by his enemies. Sun Tzu. Well, if that's the case, Mr. Zhu, let's look at who comes after me. The state government, property developers, a strange police unit, and more recently the gambling lobby, Clubs New South Wales. Who the hell am I? Am I a character in Round the Twist and I don't know it? I don't know, is it based to have your list of enemies all taken up by municipal gunk? What do you think? Anyway, today's video is about Harold Gribble's disgraceful plan to develop Port Noranda's lighthouse. Stay tuned. Look, I wish that were actually the case and we were actually doing a video on Australia's answer to The Wire, but all the entities I just listed have threatened or brought legal action against this channel for videos. Videos! Which means they clearly see Friendly Jordies as an enemy, and look, I've admitted how that reflects on me, poorly. But imagine being one of the most powerful politicians in the country and all but declaring that your enemy is a YouTuber. Even Rice Scum wouldn't get in the ring with iDubbbz, and he's a YouTuber himself. Sorry, was a YouTuber. Now he's a multi-platinum selling artist. But perhaps the one thing even more humiliating than starting a beef with a YouTuber could be being one of the most powerful lobby groups in the country, Clubs New South Wales, the gambling lobby, and bringing criminal charges against a YouTuber and a whistleblower dying of cancer because they talked about money laundering in your venues. Come on. You can really get a clear idea of the caliber of an organization if they take an action like that. Another way you can get a gauge is if you take a look at their compliance with anti-money laundering laws and, oh, what the hell, Clubs New South Wales? 95% are non-compliant. Cringe. In case you didn't know and you didn't watch my epic vlog of my trip to court, Clubs New South Wales are running a criminal prosecution against whistleblower Troy Stolz and me. That is a bizarre sentence, and as you could imagine, it took a bizarre sequence of events to make that sentence a reality. Not just a potential subplot in Rake, or Round the Twist if more farts were somehow weaved into that sentence. Independent Australia has done a fantastic rundown of what has happened to get us to this point. Read it here, but essentially Troy Stolz used to work at Clubs New South Wales as a money laundering compliance officer. It was his job to ensure that the bikies laundering their drug money through pokies were getting value for money, at least 40 cents on the buck. Well, you'd be forgiven for thinking that, but it was actually to keep clubs in line with anti-money laundering laws. Anyway, what he saw there wasn't great, so he leaked an internal document to journalists and independent Member of Parliament Andrew Wilkie. This document detailed that up to 95% of clubs weren't compliant with those pesky anti-money laundering laws. Clubs New South Wales, being the fair-minded organisation that it is, reacted by implementing internal reforms and supporting legislation such as the cashless gambling card to make it more difficult for criminal syndicates to use poker machines and wash their gains. Just kidding. They reacted in the same way a mafia don reacts when you call their mum fat, with really unnecessary, irrational and vindictive force. In early 2020, they sued Troy in the federal court for breach of confidentiality. They then spent years fumbling around, running down Troy's resources, not even filing a statement of claim up until a month or two ago. As part of their case, Clubs New South Wales demanded that Troy hand them his communications with Andrew Wilkie and his office. Troy attempted to keep these confidential but lost and was ordered to pay over $150,000 in clubs costs. Then there was another strange but this time needed twist. Last October, the federal parliament stepped up and basically said, hang on, those communications are covered by parliamentary privilege. They can't be demanded by the courts. Surely if it was good enough to protect Barilaro from his own statements, it's good enough to do what it was actually designed to do. Allow politicians to have free speech in order to stand up to powerful entities without fear or retribution. But no, this is how powerful the gambling lobby is. Clubs New South Wales got those communications. I mean, technically they're not even allowed to use them, but they still got them. These guys are more powerful than the federal government. That's almost the same level of power as Dictator Dan. And you know how dangerous that level of power is. As the case dragged on with no end in sight, Troy ended up spending more and more of his money, costing him over $700,000. Forcing him to sell his house. I mean, to be fair on clubs, they were offering Troy a chance to make his money back and more! Then earlier this year, Troy discovered that he had developed terminal cancer and believed the stress from his legal battle with clubs was a contributing factor to his declining health. So, my producer Christo sat down and did an interview with Troy. That's pretty much the alleged crime here. In response, clubs sent a flurry of threats to us and Troy, warning that if we keep the video up, it could lead to Troy's imprisonment. Shortly after, the video was taken down by YouTube. That should be the end of it, right? Clubs got what they wanted, video down, dying man silence, talk about money laundering in their venues muzzled. Ding, 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 jackpot. Surely that would be enough to satiate anyone normal, but no, on the 29th of July, clubs went to the courts without informing Troy's lawyers or mine. Well, I didn't have any at that point, but they brought criminal contempt proceedings against us. Yes, for the great crime of talking about potential criminal activity in Clubs New South Wales venues. So Troy, along with losing his house and developing cancer, is now facing jail time for standing up to Clubs New South Wales. But you know, we're in Australia, the gambling capital of the world, and New South Wales is the gambling capital of Australia. Clubs New South Wales can afford to do better than just lousy criminal charges. Why not add some unnecessary secrecy to that mix? You don't get to be this powerful with everyone being able to see your tricks. They also applied for an interim suppression order, meaning that if Troy or I told a soul, anyone other than our lawyers, we could be imprisoned. And because we weren't there when the interim suppression order was granted, we had no ability to dispute or fight it. Are you following this? The gambling lobby instigated a secret, private, criminal prosecution against a whistleblower dying of cancer and a comedian because they just hate smiles that much. Like if you like smiles. I guess legally and technically clubs can do this, but on the face of it, there is something deeply sick in Australian society that something like this can go on and that an entity such as Clubs New South Wales feels comfortable enough to take these actions when the allegations that Troy brought forward through Andrew Wilkie arguably led to the Crime Commission to investigate money laundering through pokies. We've got serious problems with organised crime in this state. We have serious money laundering problems too. No doubt a lot of them stemming from poorly regulated poker machines. We're talking about violent criminals washing drug money. But the first prosecution stemming from the allegations that 95% of Clubs New South Wales members all but allow money laundering to take place are against the people that aired those allegations. Man, it takes creative and brave minds to justify and rationalise these prosecutions. Honestly, to me it feels like the mob is running a prosecution here. There is nothing whatsoever in the public interest in this prosecution, and that's evident by the fact that it's not even being run by the public. It's not the Department of Public Prosecutions acting as prosecutor, as you would expect. It's not the cops, it's Clubs New South Wales prosecuting us. What the hell have we done wrong? What has this dying man done wrong? Well, we'll eventually have a look at what Clubs New South Wales allege, but before that, to make the prosecution even more bizarre, Clubs actually got permission to serve me my statement of charge via email. They didn't have to hand it to me in person. But to be fair on them, I think they sent this goon to my house. Funnily enough, with all that suppression order shit, for something so secret, Clubs at first sent the charges to the wrong email, perhaps themselves breaching the interim order. Maybe not knowingly. Eventually I got word of the prosecution, lawyered up, fought the interim suppression order, and it was lifted. You know what Clubs argued in an attempt to keep the suppression order? Clubs New South Wales says that Mr. Stoltz's and Mr. Shanks-Markovina's conduct suggests that they have been goading it into bringing contempt proceedings so as to provide a springboard for them to generate further waves of publicity and social media activities which attack Clubs New South Wales and its legal representatives in relation to the bringing and conduct of these proceedings. Do you know how insane that sounds? I know I'm going to sound like an Instagram infographic here, but I just have to. I mean, Jesus Christ, this is the most gaslighting criminal prosecution I've ever seen. Yes, that's our strategy, Clubs. We said to Troy, we really want to goad Clubs New South Wales into bringing a criminal prosecution against us. But before we do that, we need an angle. Troy, you're going to have to develop cancer, so how's your trip to the solarium sound? You could do with a tan? Here, take a cigarette, kid. This is like when that kid in class gets caught punching someone. Clap, stop it! But miss, he made me do it. He was being a gronk. What did he do to you? He was being a gronk, miss. Punish him. I had to do it. He wanted me to punch him. We believe Troy developed cancer in order to generate further waves of publicity and social media activities which attack Clubs New South Wales and its legal representatives in relation to the bringing and conduct of these proceedings. Thus, we ask Your Honour to find Troy's cancer in contempt of court. Clubs New South Wales power has gone unchecked for so long they're pulling legitimately delusional moves in the federal court. Just think about this prosecution as, in essence, it's the gambling lobby saying that Troy and I were trying to bring improper pressure on them to drop their lawsuits against Troy. Thus, we need to be prosecuted by an entity which almost solely exists to bring improper pressure on politicians to prevent them from passing laws which address the issues which Troy blew the whistle on. Troy blowing the whistle being the basis of Club's lawsuits in the first place. It's just insane. If the deepest, blackest hole in the universe somehow became sentient and with all its energy managed to muster the power to speak and accuse, I don't know, this kettle of being black? It would still be less hypocritical than Clubs New South Wales alleging someone is putting improper pressure on them. This is an entity that gets the state government before every election to sign a memorandum of understanding, i.e. a piece of paper that says, we promise we're not going to be a government that regulates pokies or tax them more. Look at this. This is so embarrassing. This is an organisation that got more access to the government, well, John Barilaro, than any other entity in the first 8 months of COVID. It's an organisation that all but cooed the former gaming minister. And by the way, the day we entered our pleas, not guilty, thank you very much, Clubs New South Wales issued massively defamatory statements against Troy, accusing him of blatant self-interest and lies. If that's not improper pressure, but Troy talking about his terminal cancer with possibly only months left to live is, well, maybe I need to get my eyes checked. Maybe that's not a black hole after all, and that's just Bob Down, the brightest star that ever shone. See you in court, Clubs New South Wales. Well, no, I won't see you in court because none of you show up. See your lawyers in court, Clubs New South Wales, and I'll see you at my live show in a Clubs New South Wales venue near you, or on my next vlog because they're just so fun to make. Also, Troy has a new GoFundMe to help fight against Club's criminal prosecution. Please chuck in any support you can. Get one of these spiffy new shirts at friendlyjordies.com. Now, here's my rendition of what I assume Bob Down's rendition would be of the Round the Twist theme. Around the twist. Oh yes! Have you ever felt like this? Yes, I'm talking to you, Margaret. Happy birthday. How strange things happen. Are you going round the twist? I mean, I know, I've been there before. Have you ever felt like this? And they don't put an echo on your mic, but I'm just trying to do it with my mouth. I do a lot of things with this mouth. Oh, naughty.
Please share and comment below. Comment.